Hey guys, it's me, Noah Block, here to report live on the state of the race. So as you can see, we've just gotten in results from California and Washington. Their polls just closed, and already the New York Times is giving them, or projecting them to go to Kamala Harris. So that puts the count up to 214 for Donald Trump, 179 for Kamala Harris. Now let's take a look at these swing states real quick. The major swing states we're looking at are Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. As you can see, Georgia and North Carolina have the most votes by far reporting. All right, this percentage here is how much of the votes have been counted already. Georgia with 93%. New York Times is predicting very likely are. That's because Trump is still up by 3 with 93% reporting. But you look at the population centers here, all right? Atlanta, that's the big population center. More than 95% of the votes are in. As you can see, heavily going to Kamala Harris, as well as almost all of the suburban counties around it are going to Harris as well. Really, the only large county in Georgia that hasn't gotten most of the votes counted yet is Chatham County, which is where Savannah is. As you can see, only 37% of the votes in here, with Kamala Harris leading by 21 points. If the rest of that comes in and it stays at that rate, it could get very, very close because Trump is only up by 3 here. But again, New York Times is predicting that that's likely going to go to Harris, right? The state is going to go to Trump right now, according to the New York Times. But that's a difference of about 140,000 votes, all right? So there's a lot left to come in, but right now that's leaning heavily towards Trump. North Carolina, 87% of the votes in. Again, leaning towards Trump, but we've got large counties like Mecklenburg County, Wake County. These are mostly in. We've really only got a few rural counties that aren't mostly in yet, and maybe that's a big part of why it's projected to go to Trump, is because those rural counties are almost always going to go Republican. Now let's look at some of these other swing states. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, we got 60 to 70% of the vote in. These are very close races. Trump is up in all of these, but only very slightly. And these probably aren't going to be projected for at least a couple more days, just so you guys know. Michigan, counting a lot slower. Now, Trump is up by 4 there right now, but we've only got 29% of the vote in. So while it's leaning Republican right now, you look at some counties like Wayne County right here, right next to Detroit. This is a big suburban county. Only 1% of the votes in. That's a lot left to count. All right, and we look at Pennsylvania, 70% of the vote in, but you look at the population center of Philadelphia, 67% in Philadelphia County, but less than 50% in all of the counties surrounding it, Bucks County, Montgomery County, Chester County, Delaware County. These suburban counties are a big part of how Pennsylvania went to Trump back in 2016. We saw a lot of suburban white voters, especially white women, going towards Trump when they were projected to go more Democratic in the polls before that. That could be a big story to look out for. Now, Arizona is very, very close. Only a 0.2% difference in favor of Trump. And that's with only 53% in. More than half the vote in Maricopa County, the largest county here. But then we've got other ones like Apache County here. This is a heavily Democratic area of the state with 0% of the votes in. So that could definitely switch back. We'll take a look at that later. Wisconsin has been back and forth all night. We just got another percentage in. Trump's still up by 2%, but that's with 62% of the vote in, and some suburban counties still counting a lot of their votes. Look at this right over here, Racine County, right near Milwaukee, only 23% of the votes in. So as you can see, a big part of this race is going to be those suburban counties. A lot of it is yet to be determined, obviously, and we definitely won't know the results tonight unless there is a large upset in the polls and one of the candidates ends up taking a big lead. But right now, we're especially looking at Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. These are all still very close, favoring Trump, but could go the other way. You want to keep an eye on those, especially, again, those suburban counties around the major population centers. And whichever way those swing, most likely are going to swing for the rest of the election. Good news if you're a Harris supporter, there are several states that have yet to be projected that are almost certainly going to go to Harris. You've got Virginia here with 80% reporting. Harris has been leading for a while now, and that margin is probably only going to get larger as most of the votes yet to be counted are in urban areas. You've got New Hampshire and Maine. Those are almost certainly going to go to Harris. Oregon as well going to go to Harris, and New Mexico. So she's going to pick up some more electoral votes there, as well as in Minnesota. Most likely that's going to go to Harris, especially with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz on the ballot. And really, it's going to come down to these three states and Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina looking right now like they're probably going to go Republican with the vast majority of votes in, but could come down to the wire. Just stay tuned, and we'll have all that coverage for you. That's the state of the race.